Before, lads, we chat about the incredible time you had in Drinagh Rangers. Take me back to this decision. Why have you decided now is the time to step back as manager of the club's senior team?
Will I take go on, Declan?
Yeah,
Let you go first.
Work on, yeah. Right.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry. I suppose the time seemed right. I suppose really we had looked at this previously 5 or 6 years ago, and we more or less said we weren't giving up as such, but no one really came forward to take it over, so we ended up going back into it again. But and in the meantime, I suppose our club has developed and more coaches have come online as they finish playing careers and all that. Like 5 or 6 years makes a big difference in a playing career, especially. So there's a lot of lads who have retired in the last few years and given up serious playing of the game and have taken up coaching and are in a position, I think, to take it. As well as that, from a club point of view, I would say for a club to develop, the same faces can't be doing the same things all the time. So a change is good, especially when you have new younger people coming in with new ideas, and a change is as good as the rest, as they say.
Don, just to take up what Declan said there about he feels now the time is right to hand the reins over to the next generation of coaches. But still, how hard is it to hand those reins over, considering you've been in charge of the team for so long and you've such success, and you've success right up to this season as well. You just completed the 3 in a row. So, okay, you felt the time was right, but I still presume it was a tough decision for you to make.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, it was a tough decision because I suppose it's something we've been doing for over 20 years, I suppose. And it's hard to imagine not spending the winter going to matches and being on the sideline and things like that. But as Declan said, I suppose everything comes to an end eventually, and there are other people there. And as well as that, I think we've probably, both of us, I think, came to the conclusion that we've done as much as we can. And then it's absolutely going to be hard, because it's going to be hard as well. Like, we've built relationships with players and parents and supporters and whatever else over the time. And I suppose I'm kind of looking forward to going to a game and standing back and watching it and not being involved. But I also feel that it feels like the right time. You know, that it just feels like that for both of us, I think, really.
Declan, let's go right back to the start. You played with Drinagh Rangers as a player as well. You won a couple of, I think it was 4 Premier Division titles. But where did this co-management team start? How did it start? Whose idea was it? Because, like Dan said there, you were going for over 20 years. But where did it all originate first day?
Well, I suppose it grew and developed rather than an idea from first day. Don was involved before I started coaching or started managing with him, because I was still playing when Don became the manager. And I was coaching under 18 teams myself for a few years before that. And one person in charge is not enough. You have to have 2 people there. There's too much involved in the whole process for it to work. Otherwise, it was hard enough for 2 of us to keep going on with it. But if there was one going, that wouldn't last. Like, it couldn't be practical or good for a club or good for the environment of the team or anything. Like, it wouldn't make any sense, because there's I suppose we worked it between us in that we have different strengths, and which we use those strengths for the benefit of the team or whatever, or the different benefit of the club as such. And it developed over the years, rather than being a bright spark of an idea. All of a sudden, oh yes, Declan, Deasy and Hurley will do that and they'll make a success of it. It just, at the time, I suppose I was ready to put my lot in as regards coaching, because I was interested in it at the time, from the underage as well. And there was young lads coming through from those underage teams that I managed that I saw were the future of the club. So, as I say, no light bulb moment, but it just developed from there, really.
Don, how many years have you been in charge of the Drinagh Rangers team? If you had the reins before Declan came on board as well.
I suppose 24, and Declan would be 22, I think, is probably what we worked it out as. It's hard to work them out backwards, but that far back. But I think it was probably September, I think 98, I think, or that kind of way. So and then Declan came in 2 years later when he finished up playing. I was with other people for a year or two, and then Declan took it over. So yeah, it's a long time.
That's incredible longevity, Don. And just to pick up on that as well, how did you keep it going for those 22 years together? What was the secret to your success? Because I presume there are times over the years where did you butt heads with iffy decisions over players or different tactics and so on? Like, how did you keep this relationship working for so long?
I'd say patient wives anyway, first of all, would definitely be a part of it. Well, in fairness, I suppose we work very well together in many ways. I don't think we ever fell out anyway, and that kind of thing. Declan is very patient as well, which he'd be the calmer influence of the two of us. And yeah, it was very difficult at times. I mean, there's people, I suppose, all over the place who have been left out for different games, and you know, and that was difficult at times. But sure, look, you have to make a decision. You can only have 11 people on the pitch at any one time, and that was part of it. And people, I suppose, there's different times where people were left out of cup finals or league deciders and had put a huge amount of commitment in. And again, you feel very difficult. You feel bad for the player and our players involved at the time. But sure, I mean, the responsibility as the manager obviously is developing players and that. But I suppose part of your responsibility is to try to win the competition that you're entered in, and you just have to do your best with that.
In last week's Southern Star, Declan, we tried to recount not all of the trophies he won as the management team, but some of them, and it's an incredible list, like 11 Premier Division titles, 4 Beamish Cups, Parkway Cups, and their Premier Division Cups, Micheál Cronin Cups, and so on. So, a nice easy question, Declan. What stands out for you? What's the highlight from the past 22 years?
Yeah, that's a tough one. All right, there's been many highlights. I think your last competition you win really is the highlight at the time. If you go back over the years, there's a few standout moments, I suppose. All right, doing the 3 in a row and 6 and 7. I think Dan is better than the years than I am now, but we did 3 in a row before, and we did the double in 2007. I think when we won the Beamish Cup and the league, that was a big year for us. 2018, then we won all 5 trophies. I personally think that squad that we had that year, everything came together that year, and that squad that we had that year was the best. Not exactly the best team, but the best squad was definitely that year. We had the best squad we ever had. In that we had a cup final after 2 minutes with our 2 central midfielders injured off, and we were able to bring on 2 players who were possibly as good as, if not better than them, that came on the field on that day. Like, so that definitely for me was one of the highlights. I suppose making a Munster Junior Cup semi-final in 2006, that was massive. That was huge at the time. Like no club from West Cork went that far before. And the Munster Junior Cup is always a kind of a benchmark to see where you really are against the really good teams. And we matched most of them that year. Like, so for me, that was one of the outstanding things. I suppose the success of our underage club as well as a club. Not that we win everything all the time. We don't. We're a small club as such. So we have good teams now and again, but our structures are good. So that'll be something we'll be look back on fondly and have a good thought on.
The same question to you, Don. What are the standout moments for you the last 24 years?
There's a lot of them. I suppose winning the league for the first time in 2003, we went down to Bunratty, who had a fabulous team at the time, and they had won it the previous year in the last game of the season in Drinagh. And we went down and we needed a draw, and we were 2-0 down at half time. And we got 2 goals in the second half. In fact, Eamon Conley scored the win or the equaliser with about, I think it was very close to injury time. And then there was about 8 or 9 minutes of injury time played. So that one stands out very much because that was the first league. I think we won a Beamish Cup and Turner's Cross as well, which was outstanding. I think that was not even sure the year 2017, I think, against Bay Rovers. And the fact that to go up there and to win a Beamish Cup and Turner's Cross There's been loads of them. There's been loads of them this year's league. I mean, we were delighted to finish out by winning a 3 in a row. Because this year's league was, I don't know, in all the years, the quality of some of the teams in this year's league was really, really high. Dunmanway and Bunratty and Clonakilty and those. And I suppose that's what you remember, the most recent one. But I don't know. Sometimes you remember the ones that we didn't win. But anyway, that happens too.
I have to ask you too, Don. You were manager there of the team before Declan came on board, and he was still a player. So what was Declan like as a player to manage?
Declan was very easy to manage as a player because he was always on the ball, turned up every day, and sure, Declan had won everything so many times. By the time I got involved, I wasn't telling Declan to do anything really. But Declan had been playing from the first day the club had played. So that was fabulous, and it was great to get him involved because he knew everything, and he knew an awful lot about West Cork and things like that, and the league and that kind of thing. When he became involved, he knew everything, and that helped me as well. Yeah, because I suppose I was only asked to get involved when I moved back to Drinagh that time, and I was fairly green and fairly raw at it, but the team was good and the team was developing, and they won. They when I started, they were in the second division, and then they got back into the Premier Division 2 years in a row, and that it was a developing team, young players and a mixture of older fellas and things like that. It seems so long ago now, but yeah, I suppose we've always had a good club in terms of not just Declan and myself. We've always had the support of people locally and and then, I mean, I suppose we had two bands of players, if you like. There's out of that as well, but there's a new band coming now. But we had a really strong band players in kind of 03 when we won a 3 in a row, and then again we had a great band of players in the last few years. And I think that they came from 1 or 2 under 12 teams up to under 18 teams, and it just kept us going in that time. And I suppose they interlinked between the two of them, those bands of players, and obviously those players came at different times as well. But we were lucky in that we had two, if not 3, really strong groups in the length of time that we were there, you know.
Declan, and Don has mentioned it as well in this conversation, that you're handing over the reins of the team as Premier Division champions, so the team is in such good health. But Drinagh have been uber consistent over the last couple of decades. We've just touched on some of the trophies that the club has won and that the senior team has won. What do you put that success down to? Like, it seems very much a team effort that everyone is in this together. But how have Drinagh been so consistent in the West Cork League over the last decade, 2 decades?
They say we have a lot of commitment, given myself and Don, but I think the players have given even more, because the groups of players that we have had and have at the moment have their consistency of showing up. That's the first thing, show up to the game. They're there every Sunday. There's some players in the team that have been playing now with 13 or 14 years. They haven't missed a game, and that's literally challenge game or anything. They haven't missed a game through injury or through any social event in that time. When you're dealing with that kind of commitment, it is very easy to look after a team in the sense that if they're showing up, you know your team, you can pick them. You can pick your team nearly every Sunday because you know they're there. You're not wondering if they're going to show up on a Sunday morning. You know they're going to be there, and if they're not going to be there, they're going to tell you, and they're not going to leave in the lurch. So that is probably the biggest, from my point of view, that's probably the biggest part of the success, is because of their commitment. They mind themselves on a Saturday night. Now, fellas, I suppose when I started playing, the going out nights were Friday night and Sunday night, but it changed over the years and it was Saturday night. And me personally, I never drank my life, but for fellas that do like to drink and do like to have a bit of a social life, it's a big commitment to staying aside on a Saturday night, or even if they go out, that they have to mind themselves and be right for Sunday. Like, that's not easy when everyone else is having a good time, because like we'd say all the GA in the summer, people are very committed to that, and you take your hat off to them, like. But in the middle of winter, then when everyone else is having a good time, they have to mind themselves. I have a game Sunday morning, and it's 11 o'clock Western Goleen, or it's 12 o'clock Western Beara. So, and they're driving down from Cork. So if they're coming down from Cork, it's another hour to go from Drinagh to somewhere else. Like, so, the biggest part of that success, and it is down to the players. At the end of the day, we can organise them, we can tell them what to do in a sense, and we can put them out in the field, but they have to do it at the end of the day. Like, so, it isn't all about us. It is really about the players at the end of the day, because it's their achievement, not ours. We have a hand in it, but it's down. The players will be remembered for the goals they scored, or the tackles they made, or the saves they made. So it's really, in my opinion, anyway, it is down to the players.
You mentioned the players, and this is a question open to both of you, and I don't want to single out one player over the other, but you've managed some really top class players over the years, and straight away in my head, Barry O'Driscoll Hawthorne jumps out. Like, that man is already 30 goals a season average for the last however many seasons since he came on board. Like, incredible consistency and goal scoring. But for you, who are some of those players that you might think, Jesus, they could even have got on to even more, you know?
You're going to get us in trouble here, Kieran, because we leave out someone. I suppose Barry Hawthorne is outstanding, absolutely, and the number of goals he's got is fantastic. I suppose we were lucky in previous to that, we had Michael Doolan and Derek Conley, who would have scored a tremendous amount of goals as well, and we're lucky that we had forwards. I suppose always that the biggest thing in any game, in any football game, is someone to put the ball in the net, and we were lucky in those terms. It's very hard to mention players. I mean, we've had some brilliant club members, committed players. You know, JJ Collins, JJ Hurley, Barry O'Driscoll, Gavin Daly, going back a long way. Michael Hurley. I'm trying to. There's so many of them there. It's absolutely impossible to mention them all. But I mean, it's a local thing, and it's kind of, there's been an awful lot of people in the parish or close to the parish who gave huge amounts of commitment over the years to playing for Drinagh, and to making our life easier. I'm already going to my head that I've forgotten loads of names there and that, so Declan might maybe come up with a few more or something like that. But it's not about names. Really, it's not about individuals. It was always about putting a team together, putting a team out, and working as a team over a season or a number of seasons in order to do our best, and that was part of that. Like, I don't think anybody comes on the soccer pitch in general, or if anybody comes on the soccer pitch playing for Drinagh, playing for themselves, then there's no point in that. You're playing for the other 10 guys on the pitch and whoever's watching and the subs and everything like that. That's who you're playing for, really. You know, you're not just playing for yourself. And I think that's something that we would have had in Drinagh over all the years.
Oh, no, good stuff. I want to bring it back to you again, Declan. Just to, like, you're probably two men best placed just to assess the health of the West Cork League right now. Where do you think the league is heading into the new season in a couple of months?
Well, going on the strength of last year's division, it's in a very healthy state because the standard was quite high. The quality of the teams that we had to face this year, even the teams that were relegated, we had to win, and when I say win, we had to earn the win in every game. We didn't get it handed to us. There'd be often years there in the past where there'd be one or two teams who would be extremely weak or whatever, and to be a gimme of a game or whatever. But this year, and it went right up to the end of the season because teams were fighting for relegation and everything. Every team was highly competitive, and you had to earn the right to win that game. So from that point of view, as regards players, and I think the quality player has always been there. There is good quality in West Cork. It's a lot of it is down to if you can get your players out. That's the thing. You're competitive and can be competitive against anyone, even the teams up from Cork City and things like that, in Munster Junior Cups and things like that. So, as regards facilities, that's developing as well. Like Skibbereen, Lyre, ourselves are starting to develop. Even Solan, Bear, and they're coming back into it, and they're trying and getting themselves organised, developing and trying to develop grounds and facilities. Facilities is a huge thing. Like the days of tugging off on the side of the road are gone, really. You cannot, in a modern day setting, be doing that anymore. You must strive to put something in place where things will improve, because if you build it, they will come. Someone says all the time, like, and it is true, like, if you have facilities and you have the setup ready there, it attracts people, and if you run it right and do it right in the meantime, then you will attract more people, and more people you attract, it builds your club, so people get interested in it, start putting a bit of work back into it. So I think it's in a good position, but there's still a lot of work to be done. Like, there's loads of work. There's never enough work done from that point of view. But look, the future is bright, I think, to be honest.
I'm going to broaden out the conversation a small bit, Don, because you were involved in the West Cork Academy team that did so well at the Kennedy Cup and finished third, an incredible achievement, best ever for our league. And we've a big piece in the Southern Star this Thursday where Kieran McCarthy spoke to DJ Curtin, and he touched on what Declan said there, as in what West Cork achieved in the Kennedy Cup without a place to call home as such, without those facilities, without West Cork's own AstroTurf pitch, for example. Like, it's incredible what West Cork did at the Kennedy Cup. So imagine what we could do here if we had those facilities. Is that something, given the success underage and given how well the West Cork League is now, is that a big thing now to get those facilities and just so that next generation coming up, that they can make use of those and just drive this forward for the next couple of decades?
Yeah, I think it's an absolute priority for West Cork League, West Cork Schoolgirls League, and the academy as well. We absolutely need a proper Astro, at least one, probably two or three, really, in West Cork. And I think it's something that both as I say, both organisations would have spoken to the FAI about, and quite a bit. It's something that it's a huge priority. We're fighting against. We're competing against leagues, be it or further afield, who have fantastic facilities. I mean, we spent 4 days above or 5 days above in UL, and you look at all the facilities that they have up there for the Kennedy Cup, and it's just fantastic. And we go away in both league and even Drinagh with Munster Junior Cup games and things like that. And you're going away to other teams over the years, and the facilities, the AstroTurf facilities they have, and the all-weather pitches they have. It's something that will come, but it's something that needs to be pushed, absolutely. And I suppose hopefully it isn't too far away, because going forward, the winters are getting wetter, and in order to develop players, you need to develop them on good pitches. And we're lucky this year. We were very lucky with the squad in the Kennedy Cup. They were outstanding, and they produced a fantastic week's entertainment for people at home watching them, and for those of us up there, they were outstanding, and it was a brilliant experience. And that's something we should be aiming for. It won't happen every year, but it's something that the West Cork League, as a West Cork Schoolboys League, and the academy and all that, as a small league, to keep developing and keep pushing on over as time passes, you know.
Before I let you go, and you've been so good with your time, you've been involved for so long. So come the start of the new season, Declan, will you be getting those pangs to get back in the sideline? What are you going to do with all your spare time now when you're not involved with the Drinagh Rangers senior team? Have you any Netflix series that you're going to sit down and watch, or where do we see you appear next?
Netflix is great, no doubt about it. No, the beauty of it will be to go to a game and just stand back and enjoy a game. When you're managing a game, you're not entirely enjoying it. Yes, you're enjoying the experience, but it isn't enjoyable unless you win. And we've been lucky that we've won a good few things over the years. That has made it easier. I suppose I'll find time to do things. There will be more time on Sundays, definitely, but I'll be going to games to look at them just from the point of view of supporting the team or whatever, and standing back and not making decisions and letting others do it. As well as that, I'm chairman of the West Cork Schoolgirls League, so I'd like to be able to devote a bit more time to that as well and push that on some more, because I think we're making progress and hopefully continue to make progress. And I'm still involved in the club as secretary and things like that, so I won't be going anywhere as such, but I still have enough to do.
And to you, Don, how are you going to fill your spare time? Because I know, like, you've had incredible success with Drinagh, but when you're stepping back was announced on Twitter, Clonakilty Soccer Club's tweet caught my eye. Thank God, enjoy retirement. So I think some of the West Cork League clubs are probably glad to see the back of you, because they might think this is their opportunity now to win a couple of titles. So what's your thoughts looking forward to a season where you're not in charge?
There's lots of competition, in fairness to most on that. I don't think Drinagh will be going away anywhere just because Declan and myself aren't involved. I think Drinagh will still be very competitive, and there's a lot of very good young talent in Drinagh, as there is in other clubs. And I don't think they will be falling back at all just because the two of us aren't involved directly. So as Declan is, I'm chairman of the club, and I'm also vice chairman of the West Cork Junior League, so I'm involved in soccer in West Cork completely as well, and I'm going to be probably still involved with that Kennedy Cup squad going forward as well. So lots of things to keep me going. I suppose the one thing I am looking forward to is probably not walking out, getting up early on a Sunday morning to walk a pitch to see whether it's playable or not after a night's rain or something like that. That is probably the one thing I am looking forward to. But no, still involved. It's just, I think, a time for somebody else to take up the reins, and a time to do something different, you know.
I know, fantastic. You've been so kind with your time, and congratulations on incredible success with Drinagh over the years. And like you said, you're not going anywhere, which is good news for the West Cork League and the West Cork Schoolboys and Schoolgirls Leagues as well.